All right, let's get it going. What's up, YouTube world?
What up? What up?
It's another episode of In the Building or Outside the Building with Rook. You look like you're about to spray paint something on the federal building or something.
I know, man. This. I still can't get used to this mask wearing, but it is what it is. Got to be safe out here. I know I look like I'm about to rob somebody. I feel like it too. I'm in the dark.
It must be a trip, man. I just got I was wearing one for a while that just it felt like I had the sleeper hold on me to hold it all the time when I was wearing it.
Yeah.
It was just rough. It was, my mom, Dave, you may have to mute yourself, man, for a second. You have to mute yourself. Thank you. But yeah, there was that the mask was just so damn thick, and it was, my mom got it from some lady at work. There's always some lady at work that your mama know who makes something, and she got to support it. But
it sounded like it was crochet or something.
It might as well be, man. It might as well have been a damn whatever crochet is, like that white wool fabric or something.
Right, like a scarf, like a scarf.
Like I was struggling in that mug, man. I bought some ones recently though that's much better. I had to go name brand. What's these things? I got them at a name brand, but I got them at Ross.
Yeah.
So there we go. Oh yeah, Perry Ellis. Yeah, these are high class. Perry Ellis. Unmute yourself, Dave. Yeah, you see, I'm stunting with the Perry Ellis mask, man. But they nice though. They got nice little fabric. I don't know if they protected me worth a damn, but I could breathe well.
You got some nice plaid tartan masks. Madras print.
No, they just plain prints. But yeah, I would like to see how fashionable these things go. Like, I know somebody gonna come out with some OD fashionable masks. Like Virgil's gonna come out with one that costs $1,500 in a couple weeks. And he's gonna give like 50 cents of every one sold to some black program. There goes Rook. It'll probably won't be the last time. It'll probably leave us today.
Ghost.
We'll see how that goes. He had to. I said you want to do the show now, so we did the show. We doing the show now. But until he comes back, let's see. I don't know what's up with you, Dave.
Oh, living my best life, man. Living my best life. It's quite small. I don't know. We got issues with like the what is it called, the smog index. So it'd be days they don't want me to go outside. But I get
yeah. I was thinking, have you been able to go outside?
I can go outside. I got to get my bike on, and then on top of that, then I also do a little bit of grocery shopping, which is why I was a few minutes late today. So. Yeah, still got to get out. Still got to make moves.
I feel you, man. I know that air quality stuff is a trip out there. It ain't looking like Blade Runner around your way, is it? Like it is in San Fran?
No. Luckily not. And I was just in Oakland Labor Day weekend, so I just missed it.
Yeah, that was crazy. That whole. That Blade Runner thing, boy.
Man, I don't know, man. That's
the Bay is. I think we spoke about it on the last show, but the Bay is kind of like a dystopian future without the poor air quality right now.
It's already set up.
It's already set up. Yeah, you got like the highest per capita homeless population probably in the nation in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We don't wanna be a hero.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think, this is one of the things that I think we're always gonna do with this show. We're gonna talk about big issues, but just add our unique voices to them. And sometimes that may mean some inappropriate joking, but that's just how we get there. We just trying to relate to things, and and this is how we typically talk with each other anyway. So we ain't gonna fake the funk on that. But this week though, I kind of wanted to get into some important but not important stuff. Maybe I guess it's variables in some way. But this is like the first week. And maybe it may be one of the only weeks where I had the title for the show before we even did the show. If you could see on YouTube, it says episode 5, the greatest colored show on earth, or something like that.
Oh,
or the biggest,
that's what you went with.
The biggest colored show on earth, yeah. But that's an explicit reference to Little Brother's The Minstrel Show album,
right?
Which is which I want to talk about because it's celebrated its 15th anniversary in between our last show and this show that we're doing now. So I just wanted to get into that, and it's a significant album in many ways. But I want to get you guys jumping on that first. Like, what are y'all thoughts about that album? Maybe like going back to where y'all, me and Dave, we could talk specifically about where we were when that album was out, and what effect it had on us. Rook, we weren't really around you then. So what, I know you. I don't know if you were starting as an artist yet, but where were you at that time when that album came out, and like what impact, if any, did it have on you back in?
Man, Little Brother is actually the reason why I don't even watch BET no more. Because
we will, yes, because
they had the infamous BET list of people that were like banned, and Little Brother was like at the top with KRS-One and a whole bunch of other people they said were a little bit too political for the audience.
Let's just go with that. Let's go with that, dude. Like, what happened? Apparently, like Rookie said, there was a list, and I remember seeing the list, and like KRS-One, like you said, De La was on there.
Yeah,
they had the Grind Date album that was out, and they made videos and stuff, but they couldn't get them shown on BET.
Right.
I think like Buckshot was on there and stuff like. And now with Little Brother made this is all the context that we have for this album. Little Brother was an independent group. They put out The Listening in 2002. It was a greatly received album. Got like 4.5 stars in the Source. Mike coming in the Source.
It caught the ear of Questlove. Remember?
Yeah, Questlove.
Right.
The first place I heard Little Brother was on okplayer.com, Questlove's website.
Yeah.
And they were actually on the message boards on OK Player too, especially Fonte. And but they took the underground ablaze. They were the next tribe in a lot of ways, the next De La, they were carrying on like as their name said, Little Brother. They were carrying on specific things that those groups had in the 90s and bringing them into 2000, which when you look at the first few years of the 2000s, nobody else was really trying to do that. And that's what made them so valuable to a lot of hip hop heads.
Right.
So eventually their value gets seen by the majors. They formulate a deal with Atlantic Records. They announced that their, as only Little Brother can, their first major debut album, they announced it as The Minstrel Show. And with a cover with them doing minstrel muggings on it. Like the whole, just the best layout of any album.
So classic,
point, man.
So classic.
And shout out to William FMWJ is is the designer of that whole album cover and stuff there. And
okay.
Frank William Miller Jr. He's actually Rosenberg says his name on the album, and he's a great designer of various things, and he did that album cover and that whole layout. But anyway, this is their this is their opening major label album. It's the Minstrel. They do a video for their first single, Loving It. And Loving It, has gone on to be a very, in a lot of ways, you could say a classic record.
Yep.
But they made a video for it that BET says, nope, we're not showing it. And when you look at the video, it's stunning to realize that they thought that video was, quote, too smart for their audience.
Yeah.
That's why they didn't show it. Videos up until then got banned because they had like a bare-breasted girl in it, or somebody got shot. Somebody got shot or got their head chopped off. BET banned a video because it was too smart. Yeah. And Rookie, just like you said, you don't, and it's almost like I'm almost ashamed to say how much I've watched BET in the years since, and I haven't watched it that much in the years since. Like beyond Martin reruns, I hardly ever watch BET anymore. But
it was like a 1-2 punch for me, dog. Like that.
Yeah, it was just
like that was the only thing.
Horrible, man. It was go ahead, go further into what you were thinking.
So Bob Johnson sells BET.
Yeah,
and I was crushed by that. But I could see him doing it, but I was crushed by it. And then I start seeing the changes on BET, the stuff that they were doing programming wise, and I was just like, I said, this is absolute bullshit. So they're just admitting they're owned by Viacom, which is a white company, and they're just doing what they want to do with it now. They flipping it like a pancake because
the bogus thing about it was that, like you say, Viacom is a white company. Viacom owned MTV and VH1,
all of them,
and but what BET became in those immediate years after being sold, all they did was black versions of shows that MTV and VH1 did. Like it was so blatant that they were just another corporate entity now.
And they were also putting white artists in the forefront more. So you started seeing Justin Timberlake on a lot more. You started seeing Britney Spears, I think, was on there a few times. And it's just like, what in the devil are they doing? And then on top of that, dude, where did Tavis Smiley get his start? Broadcasting wise. Right. So they got rid of the news source, okay? Real news. It wasn't real news, but when you get rid of your fake news source on a channel, then it's not really officially a channel anymore. Because that's how WCIU kept or stayed relevant, which they had fake news, and they had done that for years and shit. Another white-owned black company, but
when you look at BET too, they like say the news programming, which was slight anyway, like you say, they got rid of that. But just everything that was really cultural about BET, that was unique about BET, they got rid of during that era. You look at shows like Teen Summit and Rap City, and the Planet Groove, Video Soul, all this stuff that you could only see on BET. That big up, they were explicit platform for black artists and artists who at one point MTV wouldn't even put on their network. These were the only shows that they were coming on BET because MTV didn't think that they were viable enough for their audience. But by the time we got to the selling to Viacom, it didn't matter, because MTV did at one point show black artists, but they just used BET as the little side piece to show the stuff that they didn't want to show on MTV. The big black artists they showed on MTV, and then they just re-aired the stuff on. And there goes Rook again. That they re-aired the stuff on BET that they showed on MTV and VH1, and now it's all conglomerated together, and now they all air the BET Awards live at the same time. All the channels do, and it's just like you might as well, because of what VH1 has become with Love and Hip Hop and everything. That's a blacker channel than BET now, when you think about it, you know. But since Rook has stepped away, Dave, you know, yeah, what else you go into it, man? Like I said, me and you, we were friends. We had already been in our friendship by the time this album came out in the late summer of 2005. And you know, yeah, what you know, just letting the audience know, what were you at this point, and what were your thoughts and your you know, I think you already like a big Ninth fan at this point. So
yeah, it was still probably early for me.
Like you was starting to get into Ninth, I guess.
Yeah, because for me, probably, you know, God's Stepson was the first thing I had heard when that came out the summer before. But I mean, I guess more important to note for me is like what influenced the Minstrel show, which was Bamboozled. And I mean, that was really, I mean, and that's Spike Lee's 2000 masterpiece, which essentially was, you know, I guess a modern day minstrel show that was put on live
another
TV.
Work that wasn't appreciated when it was first released.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's probably Spike's best example of satire, and just how one is it was just so prescient, being that, you know, that it didn't make sense during that time, whereas Spike was kind of foresaw for what was going on in TV. And, you know, it really manifested itself in the decades that have followed. To your point, the Love and Hip Hop and VH1, you know, just it kind of really manifested itself further down the line, just in future TV shows that were just more pandering to the lowest common denominator in Black television. So I think that was just really great that they were able to, you know, take that and make it into a tangible form. I think there's very few.
It was so brilliant.
Yeah, there's very few musical products that have taken inspiration from television or film and been able to do it so well.
Right. And complete from like Kyle said, from the packaging, from the branding, everything was consistent with what Dave said. I mean, it was just perfect. You know what I'm saying? And then you get to the skits.
That's like I put a comment under one of those. You know, you got the videos on YouTube where, you know, you can listen to the whole album. You know, rightfully or wrongly. You know, they ain't getting much less listening to that, the artist is, than they do listening to it on Spotify. I put like it's a rare great work of hip hop that's also a great satirical work. Like you know, like you say, Dave, it builds off of what Spike did with Bamboozled. I think it owes a lot to the comic climate of the time, which was, a lot of it was built off of what Chappelle was doing on Chappelle's show, I think. And you know, I think they just really put it in a perfect form as a musical, as a thematic record for music on the musicals level. You know, it's something that no other, like I said, only Little Brother would have tried to do this, and they knocked it out the park. That's what makes it like a classic record.
Yep. And do y'all remember what was happening on the kind of like the black market of promo? Remember what was happening with like what was that? MySpace was going on, and they were like promoting on the Boondocks page. So the Boondocks had an official page that was coming out.
That Boondocks premiered, a couple months after this album came out.
So they kind of like piggybacked off of one another, especially with the BET thing, because Boondocks is gonna take a few shots at them And when I got cut off, I was talking about Tavis Smiley leaving. That was the final blow for me. They got rid of Tavis Smiley and put him on PBS. I was like, oh my God. So I was done at that point.
I mean, to his credit, he got to be a bigger deal on PBS, you know. So
yeah, but I'm just saying, man, that was very, very I don't know, that was instrumental for what they wanted to do. It wasn't what would have been best for us. You know what I'm saying? Like
maybe you may be right about that, but yeah, like I said, he made himself into a bigger deal at PBS though.
I mean, that's what black people do. I mean, we take our lemon and make lemonade, Kool-Aid all the time. We take the lemons and do that. But I'm just saying, man, when I was looking at this stuff, this is what made me make those decisions. I haven't watched BET in over 10 years, man. Like well over 10 years, man. I don't miss it at all.
BET didn't, like I said, especially at that time, like it was just such a betrayal of what they had done the 20 years before that. Like they turned not only on
hold, let me see if I can put the better headphones in.
But they turned completely on the qualities and the artists, the kind of artists that made them the network that was worth being bought by Viacom. Mm-hmm. They did it in one fell swoop, man. It was disgusting, man.
It was so fast.
Yeah, and to not like an artist like, I don't know, you know, I think a lot of people say like, well, if Little Brother was in the 90s, maybe they wouldn't be as big a deal, or you know, people project stuff like that. But I think there are artists that was worth at that time being promoted and at least allowing the audience, giving the audience a chance to decide whether they wanted them to be a big deal or not. They didn't give the audience a chance to do that.
Right.
And that's the type of stuff that, as you know, I think it was a loss of innocence moment for me as a person who was in media and into media, getting into media.
Right.
I was like, man, these decisions that are being made are so cynical, and the people who make the decisions are so rarely have what, you know, the people, what they need in mind. They have these ideas that are just, you know, that, like I said, that are just really against what we need in as a people.
Right.
And this is based in exploitation, and it's based in, you know, just making as much money as you can and not really leaving anything for people to build on. And that's again, that's a lot of what LB spoke to in the album. You look at all the things they took on in that album. They took on materialism. They took on, you know, labels. Yeah, they took on, you know,
colorism.
Colorism, cultural appropriation. You had the white boys who, you know, they had the skit where the white boy, he thought they was brothers, but they was white boys at the end. he had Scudder being forced to have blackface on. And he knew he's gonna get his ass whooped, but he had to, like, it was like you say, Rook, the skits were what put it over the top. The music was amazing, but the skits and the cohesion of the skits with the music, it made it to this whole full form. Like I said, and compared it to like Chappelle, it was like a whole. Like you compare, I in visualizing it, when I listen to it, I think of Chappelle, but I can also think of like a Saturday Night Live episode too.
Right.
Like the Minstrel Show really was like, you know, when you think of like the intro and how it's introduced, it's like an episode of Saturday Night Live where you have it's the Minstrel Show,
right? They have fanfare and credits,
and they run down the cast and everything. It's like Saturday Night Live. So you could go into places with that too as well, about how Saturday Night Live, especially at that time, was dealing with black entertainers as well. So it's like they just hit all sorts of shots, man. And it was, if you were aware of certain things in media, it just was like you lapped it all up, and it was just great to take in.
Yeah. Being a black person and being forced to see the images that they choose for us for so long, when we start seeing stuff that a real artist come out with, we definitely appreciate it. And I think that Little Brother would have been tons bigger if their window wouldn't have been made smaller by BET right there and those Viacom companies.
Yeah.
Seriously, if you're on your way up and they take your whole visual and say, hey, we ain't playing that, that shit is huge. Because back then, people who still kind of buying music, you know, they were getting into the streaming shit. Like I said, Boondocks definitely worked with Little Brother by playing their music on their actual page and stuff. But it was people still buying the music. And so, and you would think that the video would look more like Bamboozle, but it didn't. You know what I'm saying? It was real. It was innocent, right?
Yes, that was the crazy part, Rook. It's like there was nothing in it that was worthy of being banned. And BT still said, look, no, because if that shit was like Tip Drill, they would have played that shit at 3 in the afternoon.
Right. I'm about to get kicked out now, man.
But I'm sure they listened to the rest of the album, Kyle. It could have just been the video.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they did, but I don't know. But
the album started with "You Black Niggas Network." I'm like, come on now. Like that part, like I thought it was a play on UPN, but that's close enough. If I'm an exec at BET, and that would probably ruffle my feathers.
You may be right, Dave. You may be right, but I mean,
like they just say, listen, look at to watch and love it, and just say, okay, not them. You know, I think they listened to the whole album. Somebody had to listen to the whole album, like put them on. You know, I'm pretty sure somebody there had to listen to the whole album. It's like saying this may not be something we want to push. It's not showing us in the best light. That's my take on it.
But like I say, you can't make that conclusion. But it wasn't that explicit. It wasn't as explicit as what, like Rook said, what Boondocks would eventually do in satirizing BET. It wasn't that explicit. And also, I don't think they had the strength for their convictions where I'm fairly sure, like I said, if LB had gone the more exploitive route, like a Nelly would have, like a Nelly or somebody would have at that point in time, they would have gone behind that. And if they had a Nelly or Jay-Z or Lil Wayne or somebody like that on Loving It, they would have played that video instead of Joe Scudder. If they had a big enough artist,
they had to do a remix. Like they had to do a remix. See, that's where they went wrong. They like Juvenile, like how wouldn't have been as big as it was if they didn't have that remix with Jay-Z on it. You got to have that remix with whoever's tiger. Because that's all.
That's a lot of general. That's a general thing with music. You got to have that cosign, especially hip hop.
I listened to it in high school. And I was like, this is trash. They put Jay-Z on it. They blew up.
Right.
Yeah, but the music. Going to the music itself a little bit. I think, and this is one thing that if you look at Pooh's IG, he made mention of, because on Hiding Place where he says Dilla's name, and if you recognize that he said, like in going into the track, he says Dilla and stuff. He said that if he had a regret, he would have pushed harder to get Dilla on the record. So apparently he made the track thinking that Dilla was going to be on the record, but apparently they couldn't make it happen. Maybe at the time, because he was deteriorating physically at that time, that might have played a role in it. I'm not sure, but he didn't.
Yeah, what year? What year did it come out? What year did it come out?
15th anniversary. So
right.
It came out
so yeah, he was very ill at that point because we lost him in 06.
Could have been the case. Yeah.
Yeah, we lost him in 06. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but thinking of that already, but it still was a great cut. Elzai ripped it, and it would have been nice to see like more of a Slum Village reunion on that track, though.
Oh, stop! Don't even give me wanting that now. Oh man,
yeah, I know.
So many people gone, man. Damn.
Yeah, but I just want to get into a little bit of the musical critic side of me. Like, it's interesting. Like I listened to the album a couple times over the weekend, and it's interesting how much because talking about Little Brother, how they were anti-pop and anti-mainstream. Really, that first half of that album, though, going up to Loving It, that was a party record. If you listen to that album and you listen to the beats and Ninth stuff his beats, those were like you think of like Not Enough and Say It Again and Loving It. Like these were beats that he would have given to a Jay-Z or a Destiny's Child, which were artists that he was already working with at the time.
Yeah, they're higher beats per minute too. Higher beats per minute.
Yeah, like you said, they were more upbeat, like definitely than what you heard on a lot of the listening, most of the listening. So it was, I think this is one of the reasons why I want to talk to them about the record. You know, hopefully by the 20th anniversary, we could have Pooh or Fonte or somebody or Knife on with us to talk about the record. I would love that, but
I'm all for that, man.
But we'll see. But that's down the line. But I really think that they did swing for the fences in regards to like, look, this is our entry to the mainstream. This is our first major label album. Let's swing for the fences, and they did that. And then after Loving It, it got more towards the meditative, contemplative side with All For You and God Still Lives Through and tracks like that. But like I said, that first half, they were like, it was really like a party record.
They was going for it, yeah.
But they still did the satirical things. Like they had the flipping fashion sketch, and they did stuff that got your head and got you laughing too. And and
Fonte can really sing, so it's like he's
cheating, man. Cheating. That he sung his ass off and made you laugh at the same time.
Right.
Like he's so talented, man. He's so talented in so many ways. Like
they even made fun of Pooh on there, talking about he was the weakest link. Remember with the they were talking about sound click?
Yeah. I'm sure he had heard all those things in between the listening and that album. And Pooh, he put out a low key classic on his own with Sleepers.
Hell yeah, with Mellow Music.
Damn good album.
Oh, that was Sleepers. It was dope. Yeah. And then after that, he linked up with Mellow Music and did two pretty good albums. Very good albums. And shit.
Yeah, but like the Apollo Brown album.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, Sleepers, man, I still listen to that. I love it. And I love it in the morning mostly, though. It's like morning beats. But this the funny thing about that era, dude. A lot of those beats were when Ninth was very fucking busy and the beef was happening because he was kind of disconnected. So a lot of those beats, though they sound dope as hell, were kind of like throwaway beats. You know what I'm saying? Technically. So there was stuff that, like you said, it didn't sound like something Little Brother would have got. That sounded like something that Beyonce heard and probably fell on the fucking production room floor or something.
I don't think I couldn't hear them using a damn Jay-Z or Beyonce using a Bee Gees sample in one of their songs. I mean, I could be wrong, but some of the stuff I couldn't hear.
Well, you don't think that I think that like the tracks I said, like Not Enough, in particular, Not Enough, Say It Again. Maybe not Beautiful Morning, but
God, yeah.
That was Raw Knife. That was Raw Knife, yeah. But I think
we sitting there trying to play it in our heads now.
Yeah. I'm gonna play some of the stuff on. I think when I edit this together for the podcast version, but no, I do think that if you listen to, like I said, particularly Not Enough, Say It Again, and Loving It, those are single tracks.
Yeah.
So and if you look at that compared to the listening was basically one long listening experience. Like you could pick out maybe something like Whatever You Say as a single, but even that sounds like mostly like an album.
And you can tell because they kind of flow together. It's almost like water, and he made those beats with them there or with them in mind, you know. This
Right.
other thing was he was just like going through hard drives. I bet you, man, it was just for real.
And that's big though. Like you say, they were going through changes that we didn't notice as the audience.
Exactly.
And you know, pretty soon after that, you know, Ninth pulled out of the group, and you know, the little brother has gone on to make more music as a duo than as a trio. Even though, for me, it's hard to think. I think of that group, and I think of them at their highest power as a trio. Yeah, but they have made a lot of great music as a duo. You can look at the album from last year, which, you know, was a great record, a great return, and a lot of that actually built off of what they did on Minstrel Show 2 with the UBN stuff that they did.
They kept that going. They definitely kept those. They kept those nuances going. I love that, man.
Yeah, but
that was my first job I did when I came here. That was my first job, period.
Yeah, like, you're right. You did a show for their tour, right?
Yeah, so went out and, like, you know, took pictures and stuff, and I was like, wow, man, just to see the brothers, like, because I interviewed them way back in the day when they were, like, at the African Fest, and I interviewed them and asked them my BET questions back then. So, like, just to see how much they'd grown to this point, you know.
What did they say about when they asked those questions back then?
Oh man, you gotta go back to that interview. I'll link you to it, because they said a lot of shit. I can't really go into it because they really couldn't go into it. They were still in the midst of it. You know what I'm saying? So they was saying a lot of stuff that wasn't really direct, but you could just tell, okay, there's an underlying beef that's here with Ninth going on. We can't speak on it, but we're trying to work through it. That's what it seemed like they were trying to say.
So that was in 05? That was
like, when the fuck was that one African Fest? I forget, man.
The African Fest is usually in Labor Day weekend, so that would have been just before the album came out.
Okay. Damn. Wow. Wow.
But I just want to throw this question at you guys though. Like, if they had a greater success with that album, like if BET left them alone and maybe they sold, you know, maybe they wouldn't have went platinum, but they went gold or close to it or something. They had success. And they made a couple more singles out of it. Like, do you think that Little Brother as a 3-man group would have continued beyond the Minstrel Show?
I mean, I thought the part of the beef was in let Ninth rap. And, you know, after hearing Ninth rap, you know, I understand why.
I'm not sure if that was a primary thing. I think it was more about Ninth not wanting to tour and really do the stuff that associated with a group. And I, you know, I'm pretty sure that I don't know if him rapping was that much of an issue at that point.
Oh, okay.
But I agree with you that he shouldn't have rapped in general. Although I do think he had a decent voice, but he wasn't a rapper at all.
I don't know. His voice, it's pretty flat. I mean, it's pretty flat from I don't know. I remember the Ninth-matic tracks, and I just being pretty flat. I
just think his delivery was bad, but I think the timbre of his voice, I think was decent, but
I don't know. I don't know. It just he wasn't meant for rapping. I mean, you know,
no, he was.
Yeah,
but but I think, you know, I think if they were a little successful, maybe, because I mean he wound up on one track on that follow-up album, and it was interesting enough, the Lil Wayne track. And, you know, I just think that, I don't know, maybe if they were more welcome, treated more as a welcome group in that tribe of mainstream hip hop, you know, maybe Ninth would have felt it worth, you know, staying on for another album or two at least, because they could have had more placements from people like Wayne, and he could have made more out of his situation as a member of the group. Whereas with what happened with the album, he probably was just like, well, screw it. I'll just go out and set out on my own because we're not ever going to be accepted as a group anyway. That's just my thinking.
That's a good question. I think it's hard to go back to figure that out. I would have liked to hear more on the radio because the radio was awful at that time. I mean, it's bad now, but it was bad back then. Yeah, I just remember hearing a damn Nelly and Tim McGraw song over and over on the radio during that time. There was just certain songs that just really were like, God, you are punishing us with these mediocre.
That's why it was so admirable how they went about things, Dave. It's like they were trying to offer a real alternative to what was going on in mainstream hip hop at that time, and they just got shut down. And it's sort of it's the sort of thing where, like, you get assassinated, you get to live on, in a certain way. They didn't get assassinated, but their career got put to the side, and it was just left for us as fans. And
it became more of a cult. It became more of a cult.
Yeah, perfect way to put it. They were left as, okay, you're just gonna be this cult group,
right?
And us who valued them all the time, we were allowed to stick with them and hold them close to us. And it's funny now because Fonte really has lasted in a way that's unique, where you could hear Fonte's music on Sesame Street now, like raps that he does and stuff.
Right,
he's done raps and stuff that has appeared on Sesame Street, and he's still close with Questlove. He appears on Questlove's podcast, Questlove Supreme, and there's a lot of people like Questlove and people who have, like say Jay, and people who were hip to Little Brother and Ninth, who really like. And look, the Drake thing. You got to speak about the Drake thing with him. Look, I know Dave. Anytime you mention Drake, Dave puts his head there. But Drake has admitted himself that Fonte is his favorite rapper. I don't know if
he's a huge fan. He's a huge fan.
Yeah, I don't know if he still feels that way, but he admitted that early in his career. And for a lot of people now, whenever you have to associate, whenever you mention Drake, you have to say, look, he got most of his style from Fonte.
And that's the point. Like, who cares? I don't care about who your favorite rappers are. If one, if you ain't putting them on, and two, you ain't being honest. I mean, like, it don't matter if who your favorite is. If you got a platform and you ain't putting them on, I don't think it really matters. I mean, I don't think it really matters. I mean, but
it matters, Dave, in that we as the people know a greater truth than he's revealing. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, Drake is, there's one reason why I can't ever ride completely with Drake either, because he long ago betrayed his influences to get rich. He betrayed, the Slum Village and the LB and the stuff that he really liked as a young rapper, just to jump on with Young Money and become the biggest artist in the world. And without shining light back onto those artists who are still very much active.
And that's what Dave said. That's what Dave talking about.
Yeah,
he had to get out the basement. And I mean more, and I guess more to that point, I think it's said being that one, Little Brother was the first people that put him on the song even before Young Money and all that.
He killed that shit too. Oh my God, I still listen.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Don't you have a man?
Yeah, that it's hard to get over his voice, but yeah, it was a good track.
Okay, we get it, Dave. We get
it. Still had one foot in Degrassi at that point.
Yeah, we get
that croaky. Like I got a 5 o'clock shadow, but I still sound like I'm 14.
But that's part of Fonte's legacy, though. And when you talk about some of the impactful artists post 2000, you got to put Fonte on the list in hip hop, because not only does he have the discography that he has as a solo and with Lil B, but like we all know he directly influenced probably the biggest artist of the past 10 years.
Yeah. He gave birth to Drake, not that little dude in Memphis claiming to be his daddy.
with the thick ass mustache. Yeah.
Oh man. I love it. We finally found something to hit a nerve with Dave. That's hilarious.
Oh man,
Aubrey. I mean, Aubrey always.
Aubrey.
Like there's like a handful of songs that I can from his whole discography that I can listen to. It's just like really like a handful of songs, and he put out a lot of stuff, and there's maybe like 4 or 5 songs that I can listen to. I mean,
damn.
Yeah, I can't say much more myself, but yeah, more than that, yeah. But he's talented as hell, but like you say,
he's a Tesla. He has no soul.
Yeah,
he's all. He's all style, no soul.
I'm new to that one, man. I like that though. I do like that because I can listen to maybe 5 Drake songs and they're all old. Like all of them are old.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they all from 10 years ago.
Yeah, when they let him jump on the 9th beat, you know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, that was nuts.
Yeah, the best song he's ever made is the Think Good Thoughts with Fonte and Elzai, the complete version.
Shit.
With the Anita Baker sample, that
song went so. That's what I listened to a lot, man. That song went hard, man.
Yeah, and he still had the 3rd best verse on that record.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, and to your point, like his influences are strong. I mean, he shouting out Groove Theory and all these people. I mean, but who you partner with it's just not, it's not in alignment with it. I mean, you can't pretend like you have some depth.
Now he has a lot more freedom than to give a fuck about his partners now, because the OVO shit or whatever, he could put whoever the fuck he want on. You know what I'm saying? And he don't do that.
That makes me think of.
He owns motherfucking casinos and shit out here, man. They be doing all type of shit.
Let me see if I could get this up. Let y'all know who he's trying to put on now. As I get into my
drill rapper out of Chicago.
Shit, that'll be a leap for him. Oh, you talking about a dude that was already famous? Damn, the one with the purple dreads. I mean, blind dreads. Damn, Lil Durk, man. Lil Durk.
Yeah,
Lil Durk.
Yeah,
Lil Durk already famous. But he did buy him
with the shorties and with Chicago, but there's more levels that he's. Let's see this. Let's show you this chain.
Yeah, well, he definitely bought the child. Yeah, I was about to say that. The chain that he bought. Lord Jesus. What are they, dating or something?
Probably.
Buying a grown man a chain. Y'all ain't. Good grief, man. I know labels do it all the time. Labels do that shit.
He's dealing with some stuff that he don't really know about. And I think, I don't know if he wants to go too much further than this.
What happens in Toronto stays in Toronto.
Yeah. I want to see Drake. I want to see Drake in Terrortown sometime and see how that goes.
Man, if you could go live in Terrortown with that, I would be like, wow, that is must see TV right there.
Listen.
Nah, but his verse was actually about not being able to do that. He's actually.
I still haven't listened to this. I've listened to this song like one time, maybe. So I don't.
Yeah, you ain't missing too much.
I'm sure.
Oh, guys, it's weird. I don't, maybe it's just being an old man now, but this is weird.
Look, he's trying to hold on to relevancy now. He's at the point where he has to he's done that actually throughout his career, reaching out to different artists, and he did it with Migos. He did it with the little boy. He did the track with down in the Look Alive track and all this. Like he jumps on a bunch of artist stuff and uses that to, prolong his career. And now he's doing it with Dirk apparently.
Yeah, that's why I don't listen to the radio. I can't do it. I can't do it. I just be want to ask like a lot of the music, the radio personalities, like how much of your soul you got to sell, how much, what strains you got to do to maintain in this space, especially when you get old. Like I can understand you. Like I mean, like I figure like you got to do something strange when you first get on, and then when you get old.
Yeah.
Because
some of these folks are real, like they say they're heads, and they come from an age where there would be heads. There's one guy in particular, I don't want to really put him out there, but you may know who I'm talking about, Dave. But he's on the major station here. Yeah,
I know.
And for all intents and purposes, he's a head. He represents like if you catch him at certain spots, he'll represent stuff that heads represent. But he has to go onto the radio every morning and act like, he's down with the young cats and stuff too. Like I couldn't do it myself. I just couldn't do it.
It's just like, don't you? Like I just be like, I mean, I'd probably be more like a Joe Budden's. Like, don't you know your shit is trash? like, well, yeah. Like, and I'm like, I understand you speaking your truth where you come from, but you can do it with some level of aplomb and just, some skill. But you just trash. Like, the people that came before you was able to do it. They came from the same place you did or worse. And they actually had some skill as well, but they were able to do it with some skill.
Yeah, everybody likes to jump on how young some of these guys are, but they were pretty young back in the day as well, and they were very much more literate.
I don't know, I was an aspiring teacher at one point, and then just trying to read. Guys writing that chorus was giving me a migraine. I said I can't do it. So it's just like, it's really unfortunate. It's like people say, well, this is their way of expressing themselves from their environment. So I don't know what happened between the last 20, we'll just say the last 20 years. I mean,
it ain't that different.
Is it like some interfamilial mixing? Like, you look at some of these guys, and maybe you think of like, maybe that's happening.
Too much cousin humping.
Maybe. And I mean, like, if COVID, and like, honestly, if COVID existed before now, I can understand it. Because, you're stuck in the house, you can't go anywhere. But like, you could go places like, you may live, you can go outside your neighborhood and find somebody else to date, because it's like some the rappers now, I definitely think it's some inbreeding going on or something. It's pretty bad.
Maybe, man. But well, you mentioned Budden though, man. That was gonna be the second main topic I wanted to go into, and his ongoing thing with Charlamagne, and I'll just let you go. I'll just let you start off with that before I give some context. I guess I'll give some context first.
You go first because you listened to the whole thing. I haven't listened to the whole thing. I think I made it about 20 in.
Yeah, and I've been more keeping up with this thing in particular. Well, first, the main thing is that Budden's podcast, which I think most people, if you're into hip hop and you're online and you're into online media and stuff, you know about the Joe Budden podcast. He started it coming off of his dealings with Complex, where he did the Everyday Struggle show. Budden for years, he was in the rap game. He transitioned over into reality TV with, the previously mentioned Love and Hip Hop, and his career is went down as typically does with rappers who started in 01. At some point you keep, the steam wasn't, there was only so much steam to begin with, and it petered out to over.
That's a good point. You can probably count on your hand on both fingers, like how many
rappers from 2001, maybe both hands, like the whole game,
who's
still relevant. And I mean,
but
this
the thing that's so interesting about today, where you have so many rappers who have turned to podcasting and video blogging and all this stuff that they do, and people have gotten TV shows out of it. Budden is probably the best example of that, where he's gotten TV shows and all types of media deals now, and now he's looked at as one of the premier content producers in the hip hop scene, one of the premier, commentators, I guess would be an all-encompassing word, because he on his shows he talks about other artists, he reviews new albums as they come out, and like Dave, like you say, most of them he calls trash.
I mean that's so that part, I mean, the raw honesty. And it's two things also, is two what you mentioned about like Knife, like his pitch. Like he has a great like pitch. His voice is like great, like flat deadpan. And so that's what makes the show great.
he really was made for this moment. And it was something that he sort of stumbled into because, like I said, being his career petered out as it did naturally, but he's always been a person who had he's been in tune with what's going on online, and he's not a person who's he doesn't keep his mouth shut. So so like I said, he's made for these platforms that he's gone into. He brought on his guy Mal and Rory, and they put on this show. They do it from, I don't know if it's his house or whatever, but they do it from a nice little setting, and all it is basically like what we do. They put themselves together, except they're in the same room, but they talk shit. And I admittedly, getting into his podcast, it made me think of like, man, I want to have a show like that. And the show that they've done as it currently is constituted, they've done from 2018 on Spotify. It's been exclusive on Spotify, and the contract runs out later this month. And he announced last month that he's done with Spotify because of bad dealings that Spotify has gone on with him, negotiations that have gone sour. They gave him a pick of some Rolexes instead of giving them stock options. and he's gone off several times. He's gone off seveung times.
Oh yeah,
being treated like a simpleton and like a mere employee when they really do have the most popular podcast on that platform. He says himself. I don't know if anybody has really checked this, but he says that the show has brought in 9 figures for Spotify. And if that's the case, then you really have to feel that he's entitled to ask for the things that he's asked for, which some people say has been as much as $250 million and whatever. And he's played hardball essentially with Spotify, and he's been very much speaking on a lot of issues in regards to creatives in general and people knowing their value in regards to negotiating with these big corporations that are, in so many cases, use people's work and underpays them. They use their people's work for content, and they, more often than not, underpay and undervalue people, who they utilize their content for, endless hours of entertainment. And so that brings me to Charlamagne. Is Charlamagne, Breakfast Club co-host, another guy who out of nowhere sort of, didn't even have the head start that Joe had as a rapper. I think he started out on Wendy Williams' show. He was a side guy on that show. He winds up going on to the Breakfast Club, and he was there when it started with Angela Yee and DJ Envy. They built that into the biggest black radio show in the country, in a lot of ways. And they're this money making force now for iHeartRadio, which owns their radio station in New York. And Charlamagne apparently he went on their show, The Breakfast Club, and said that Budden is after Budden let it be known that that his show is not returning to Spotify. Charlamagne said, "Well, you're just making bad deals and you can't negotiate well. And you're not doing the right thing by yourself and by your people, and you're not setting the standard that you think you are, whatever." So many words. And later, Charlamagne, within the past week or so, has announced that he's starting his own podcast platform network with iHeartRadio, and he's bringing on a bunch of diverse, mostly black podcasters and shows that are going to be under that network. But Budden looks at that as like being just a content farm essentially for iHeartRadio. These are going to be a bunch of shows that are going to be eventually undervalued. Just like, not really. You can't really say that Charlamagne is undervalued. Apparently, he's on the board of iHeart and stuff right now, so he's making money. He's a big deal with them, and this, and you can figure that's the case because that's iHeart wouldn't allow him to make a whole podcast network under their banner if he wasn't valued by that company.
Right.
But at the same time, how much of that value is going to trickle down to the individuals on this network? That is a question that's yet to be answered.
Probably not much. Yeah, definitely probably not much. It was funny, you kind of recapped Charlamagne's thoughts on Joe's position. And I was just thinking in my head, it sounded like Trump. It's like, and I mean, to Joe's defense, like I don't understand what influence or what insights why should he have an opinion on, at least a public opinion on it. I mean, if you genuinely cared about the man's I guess getting a fair deal, I mean, I would provide some consultation to him.
But see, that's the thing that with Charlamagne, he's become become a person whose opinion has apparently been held up to the highest degree now. He gets regularly, he has best-selling books. He gets booked regularly on major talk shows and stuff. And, he has his show where he calls out people as donkeys of the day every day. And so I think, I agree with you, Dave. Like, I think he's feeling himself to a degree where he thinks he can talk about anything and anyone, even supposed friends, and just put their business out there and give his ruling like he has the last say and the only say on things.
Yeah, I really don't. Yeah, that part. Yeah, I mean that's really disconcerting, especially if somebody you identify as a friend, like them getting a bad deal or something like that. That's not. Yeah, I mean that's not something you do in public. I mean, and two, what I would personally do if I was a Charlamagne was one, just provide. If you know someone in that position where they're negotiating the deal, or you consider them a professional peer friend, is provide them with some counsel, or maybe provide them with kind of a guidebook, so to speak, to be able to help them negotiate and broker that deal. Yeah. I think that's really important. I mean, I think the issue at hand is that there's probably the reason why a lot of these large, radio stations and entertainment conglomerates get over on artists is because there's no one there to help them negotiate their deals. There's no one there to help them, what we call in real estate, underwrite their business, value their business. So they see somebody gives them an opportunity of having a platform, but they offer them pennies on the dollar, and they say this is the first, and they sometimes by that was considered the first opportunity or maybe the largest opportunity for them to have a platform. But they don't necessarily know that deal comes at a large cost.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, just thinking back, excuse me, to like the Last Dance. To the Last Dance, sorry. When Scotty was kind of upset about his contract being lower than most of the people in the league, and it just really just comes back to that time period, I guess, where they discussed this initial deal, and he took it because I think at the time he had some extenuating family circumstances where he wanted to make sure he was able to provide for his family. Yeah. And but the thing is, there has to be someone there for you. Is that when you're in that critical moment that can, one, provide counsel, or two, advocate for you. And that's really I think the benefit of having an agent to do so.
When you look at that Scotty situation, well, for one, he did have an agent, and two, Reinsdorf, the owner of the team, I guess this is what happened, because he said it on the show and it hasn't been refuted. Like, Reinsdorf said that he advised Scotty to not sign the deal, and so that's what, like you say, he had that advisement, but Scotty, in that moment, giving the extenuating circumstances of his family, chose to make the deal that he made because he wanted to get the money, this life-changing money that he hadn't had before that, so that he could do what he can do and give back to his family. And before you go back, I just want to say that brings me, when I think of Charlamagne, that gets to the heart of what I think the conflict is with Charlamagne and Budden, is that you have two diametrically opposed viewpoints,
right?
And viewpoints and philosophies about how to make your way in the media business right now. And with Charlamagne, you have an ideal of being a great employee who can earn your way up the ladder, the corporate ladder.
Dance your way up the corporate ladder. This is I mean, you could put. I mean, honestly, it's fun. Not to cut you off, but back to like our initial conversation on the Minstrel show. You could put that damn man-tan mask on him sometimes.
You can. I'm with you. Like, he's troublesome sometimes. Sometimes he's not so troublesome.
Yeah.
But I will say that. And I'm more on Joe's side with this, because Joe is more about ownership, and that's what he's been preaching on the show: retaining ownership, knowing your value as a person in this industry, where there's so much fluctuation and there's so many things that change over time, where your value can fluctuate at different points, and you have to deal with different people who own different platforms and stuff like that. Look, I'm a part owner of a multi-platform thing. What you're looking at right now, I own part of it. So I'm definitely on Joe's side with that. But I also know that it's very difficult to own your own media platform, to own your own media interests, and unless you that makes me think of, like, with what Charlamagne says, there is value in being part of an entity where there is security, and there's when you have job security and when you can excel, room to grow and excel. There's reason why a lot of people go that route as well. So a lot of times you do have people who shuffle along that path, but it's not always that. And those are not always the reasons why people go that route.
Well, so to that point, like I said, nobody's throwing sand at him for necessarily taking that route. I think it's when you start throwing stones at other people is really when it becomes problematic. I mean,
you're undercutting your fellow brother. Yeah.
I mean, right. I mean, you can't say, you took a bad deal, or you should, or judge somebody's decision, because one, you're not in that same role. And I mean, ultimately, I'm pretty sure it's Joe is, as old as Charlamagne is, so, and he's been in, the space for long enough where he understands the implications of his actions. He's not in his 20s.
His opinion is fully informed by 20 years in the music business,
right,
and 20 years in entertainment. He's not dumb about any of this at all. That's why I've been so impressed with what he's been saying recently, and because he does have that history behind it. He's been around the block and back.
Yeah, and I think that's I mean, he's taken his experiences, like you said, in the music industry, and pivoted and been able to maintain relevance in an area where there's a short attention span. And he's been able to do it and maintain integrity, which is also two things that are really not all very congruent in the music industry. Being able to do both.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, especially in this age. So yeah, for everything he said, sounds spot on. I mean, the bit of it I was able to listen to. Sometimes even when he comes off sounding a little, off crazy. I mean, at times, but still, I understand
he's still a performer. Yeah, he's still a performer. And he still hasn't seen a beef that he wouldn't like to take a bite out of. Like, this is the guy who ran after Drake fans.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah,
in the middle of the street. Yeah,
yeah, and I think that's great. I mean, that's great that there's, that level. That he's able to, he's able to separate this is my personal life. You don't come do this. It's not a situation where he just called security or called police. No, he addressed them for just kind of that nonsense. And I think that's problematic that does happen. And that one is just kind of like the fanboydom or the single-mindedness of people who take someone else's views on them and then just go run with it. And then just add also just, inaccurate information to it just to make it even worse. I don't really admire or I don't envy anyone really in the industry now, just because all of the foulness that comes with it, all of the toxicness that comes with it, especially online.
Yeah. I just say, if in a year or two, if Charlamagne comes calling, just disregard this episode, Mr. Charlamagne, and give me whatever little check you got to offer, and I'll be a part of your network.
I mean, it. Yeah, but it's gonna come at a cost. I love Rook. I don't know where he's at, but you're not gonna be Rook. I love Rook, but no. He's gonna be banned like Little Brother was banned from BET. You're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait another 10, 20 years before you get your empire, and y'all can be like, have your own rogue show where you can put him on a platform. So
I wish he could have came back on. We'll just continue this next week, I guess. But yeah, this it's gonna be interesting because, like you said, I think September 23rd is the last date that Budden will be on Spotify, apparently. So he said in the video that I shared with y'all today that he's getting calls and all this. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes next and what type of vision that he makes for himself. I think I've been a lot of this I've been getting from texts involved with some of the other brothers, from Regal and stuff, and a lot of them have been like, a few of them, couple have been like, this isn't the sort of thing. This is disheartening to see Charlamagne and Joe going at it in public like this. I was like, look, sometimes you got to have these squabbles out in public because we're talking about rhetoric that needs to be discussed. And you're talking about, information I think is being brought across here, especially by Joe, that is of value to creators of all sorts, and independent creators in particular. And it's stuff that we can utilize from this conversation going forward. We all have to be able to keep in mind our values, both our values as creators and our values as people. And we have to have that. We have to prioritize those things, because whatever successes that we have, whatever advancements that we're able to make in the future, you know, it has to be known that we all can be valued more. You know, we all have a value in us. I have a value, Dave, you have a value, Rook has a value. Everyone you see on this YouTube channel, on our podcast platforms, on our website, we have value, and you know, we should be able to tap into that as best we can and not be exploited. And you know, there's always the chance that you can, because that's what these people are going to do. That's their modus operandi. And you know, if you're going to be in this game, you got to guard against it. So I think Joe is informing people on how better to guard against these things, you know, regardless of whoever you come across in the future. And I think there's value to that.
I think there's value to it, but what I'd like to see somebody in the music industry do, and I mean, I've heard instances of Jay-Z doing it. I mean, sure there are other people, but someone consistently be able to negotiate terms for people that are advantageous. And it's really unfortunate. It seems like a lot of cases, and I'm making an assumption here, but you always see the artists who have the least talent for whatever reason get the most buzz and get some of the strongest deals. Sure. I mean, like the Chief Keefs of the world. I'm sure Aubrey gave Lil Durk a good deal. I mean, Lil Durk is better than a Chief Keef, but you see, I mean, like but then you hear these horror stories about these really talented artists get shafted and just end up in these bad contracts. Yeah, and it's just unfortunate that there's now someone to more advocate for them, you know, to say, okay, this is a person's quality. There's like we'll just use an example, like if a Neek or Rashid Hadi or somebody like that gets called, you know, get offered a major deal. I hope there's somebody there as an intermediary to make sure that they're getting the best deal they can get.
Yeah, and ideally it would be someone on the level of Jay-Z. And Jay has used his powers to back certain artists, like, you know, a Jay Electronica, and he's brought him into his fold, you know. But you know, those guys are picky too, and they're
right, and that's a part of the problem, though. Yeah. And that's also part of the problem, because you shouldn't. I think a part of the problem in the music industry is not only about who's in the wave, you know, as far as who's hot now, but it's also about who's likable. And I don't think likable should be necessarily the metric as far as you putting somebody on. It really should be on if that person has got talent or not. I mean, like even like J. Cole signed to Jay Electronica. I mean, the amount of content he's put out, for me, I don't know if that would be the best investment, you know. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I'm like, if I was a Jay-Z, I'm like, you got a twin and a Sky Zoo who's been around to your point for damn near 20 years. I'd have reached out to a Sky. I'm like, we come from the same place. You pretty much my little brother. Come on, and join rock, or at least make the offer for it, something like that. But you bringing on people that Jay has, Jay's good, but for his, what he's put out, I don't know what to compare him to, but he's been underwhelming with his, output as far as,
he hasn't been prolific at all. And but yeah, you make a good point with Sky Zoo, and to for full discretion, me and Dave are big Sky Zoo fans, of course, but yeah, it's interesting. Like, why wouldn't that type of artist, obviously hardworking artist who comes from, like you say, is sort of like a little brother to Jay. He even did a tribute project to Reasonable Doubt. Like, why wouldn't that be an artist who you pick out and want to hold up, as opposed to a guy a more, maybe the mystery is part of the thing with Jay. I mean, there is sort of this thing where a lot of artists have been drawn to him in some way that, is unexplainable almost. But I don't know. But Jay has picked. I mean, Jay has picked other artists too. Like you can look at a J. Cole, who was more of in between Skyzoo and Jay Electronica. He's been a working artist. He's worked consistently and he's been successful. So
he's improved. I mean,
but even when you could say he was whacker, he still was selling records. So
yeah,
I guess when it comes down to it, that's really the main thing. Can this artist sell records? And I don't know. Maybe he just didn't think. I don't know what his opinion is on Skyzoo. We never heard it, but maybe he just didn't think that Skyzoo could sell records like that.
I don't know. I mean, he's a New York prototypical rapper. I mean, he's not like. I mean, there's been enough. He's, yeah. I mean, there's been enough. There's been enough of people before him like him, so to speak. But see, that's the thing too. That might have worked against him. That makes me think of like Russell Simmons, like Nas saying Russell Simmons didn't take him on because he said he sounded too much like Cool G Rap. So like sometimes these guys overthink things, and it's like, well, if I got a rapper who sounds like Cool G Rap, yeah, I'll sign that guy. But Russell apparently, maybe he did too much blow that day or something. I don't know, but he was just, but he saw a guy. All he saw was a guy who was derivative of something, and he didn't think that was sellable because Cool G Rap was only so much sellable. But Nas has gone on to sell millions more records than Cool G Rap. So sometimes your best instincts aren't the right thing. The right thing. Picking Sam Bowie over Jordan, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a music industry is a strange thing. I have a weird thing. I mean, yeah, I have. I think that if you're in a place where you have talent, you definitely need somebody looking out for you because because you can, like I said, because ultimately I think it's one of those places where it's either one or two things. You don't have a lot of talent, but you got a lot of hustle when you make it, or you're a part of the wave. I mean, whatever it is you're talking about is the next big thing.
Yeah, and sometimes you be part of that wave. It's like Outkast and Goody Mob said you get found floating face down in the mainstream. So a lot of people have had that happen to them, and it going back to the beginning of our show, it threatened, almost happened to Little Brother, but they found their way in their own little fjord, their own little path, and they've maintained something that's been lasting. And that's the last thing I want to say about that is that they had all their difficulties, but in the end, they're still brothers, and they have a good relationship now. Fontaine Pooh have made their album last year, and they apparently making more music. And Ninth, even though Ninth isn't a part of it, he's still on good terms with those guys. So I think, given all that they've given to us, that's the most that I could ask from them at this point, just knowing that they're on good terms with each other. And, I just would like for them to tour again, when people can tour again.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. But yeah, the great thing about groups like LB is they tend to be like oxygen in like a damn, I don't know, say gas factory. That's that little hole,
a CO2 factory.
That's that little hole to the outside where you can stick a tube out and breathe fresh air, while everybody being gassed to death by mediocre music. So
shout out to them, man. I did a little reaching out to get some people on to this to speak with us, but didn't work. But like I said, hopefully maybe for the 20th anniversary we could do something bigger. And like I said, just shout out to those brothers, man, who made that record, everyone who was involved in that. And definitely it's music that we'll always value. And just keep on doing it, man. Keep on doing it, and we'll support. And hope you support us going forward. We're gonna wrap up episode 5 in the building. Rook, hopefully he's okay somewhere. We'll check up on him soon enough when we get off. But we'll be back next week, man. And yeah. There's a couple other people I could talk to as well about that, Dave. But Dave just sent me a little message. But yeah, we'll work on that. We'll work on getting some guests in the future for this show and for others. But we just in the meantime we just gonna keep doing our thing, man. And in the building, man. Me, Dave, and Rook every week, every Tuesday night. We come on and we talk. And we'll get back next week with y'all, man. And weareregalradio.com, more content every day, exclusive writing and stuff on the site, and War on Anchor podcast. Got a lot of new stuff coming up every day. So if you're interested in sports, you're interested in culture, whatever, man, we got you, man. Just if we aren't doing something that you are interested in, if you think we should highlight something, showcase something that's out there in these streets that you think needs to be showcased, just contact us and let me know. Contact me, let me know. I'm not hard to find out here on Twitter and everything. K-Mean on IG, work_right on Twitter. And I answer all the stuff on the Regal pages too. So search We Are Regal Radio, War Media. You should be able to find all of our platforms: Facebook, IG, Twitter, all that. So yeah. But for now, man, we're gonna send it off here. Dave, you got anything else you want to say, man?
Nope. So it's fun as always. See you next week.
Yeah, for sure, man. All right. That's Dave, man. This is Kyle. We signing off, man. We'll holler at y'all next week.
All right. Peace.